Okay, welcome back. So I'm for the last few months now I'm in these neural networks, and we for principal reason we didn't like them because they have this principal idea that artificial intelligence is working like our brain, or that you are able to watch and to map how things working. So even the concept of network and then neural networks and all these is completely misleading in my understanding. There are principal other implementations of AI I think are more appropriate, but the very thing of neural networks is for the last 3 to 5 years they simply made it, and therefore I looked in detail how this works, and I will give you introduction about these alienations and so on. So it's about will be about neural networks, and the interesting thing with that is that they are in line with games. So you see, no, that's not working. So we have the games here, and this is a super fast track of technology. And for architects, that's very interesting because games, in principle, they follow the Euclidean geometry. They follow a classical scheme of mechanics, and they use computing and the principle of computing for mimicking old-fashioned notions of space. So Euclidean geometry, classical physics. And then with these GPUs, which are a big success, or which are the driving force of the last 5 years, the graphical processing units, they are made for mimicking classical physics and Euclidean geometry. And they're streamlined to that. So the interesting is, now my computer, for example, is my maybe 3,000 Swiss francs. And if this is computing power with this CPU of 1, a GPU for 1,000 euro is 100 to 200. So it's 100 times more faster, because it's streamlined. That's the interesting thing, towards Euclidean geometry and classical mechanics. And by that, it's getting hardware, and it's getting super fast and super cheap. So now with this difference in performance to a processor, a CPU, which is for everything, and this GPU, which is just for classical mechanics, and there's no way around now. So we have to fight with that. So the interesting with artificial intelligence and these games is games push that, AI is coming behind that. And AI is in form of neural networks. They got powerful because they're following the schemes of Euclidean geometry. Because. So on the success, you might have realized that, for example, that unlike 5 years ago, or even 3 years ago, that they can have a proper translation, yeah, from German to English or to Chinese or whatever. It's not too bad. And 3 years ago, it was just bad. It was funny to see. Or that you can have speech to text in a proper way, that you simply say, okay, I can use it. And then I do some, or that you have translations, auto captions in movies and so on. And this is kind of working in any language. This is because of AI performing like games. So, and if we, for example, as an architect, look at this, then it's very interesting that with AI, with the with the games, you're always an upright fighter and running around. So what you see is always orthographia. So you are invariant to scale and a position of things. So it can be small and big, and so and they can be they can be at the here. You can move around, and they can be in scale. So what you don't have is that things turn around massively. And these machines don't support abstract from rotation. Very interesting. So they can do scaling and they can do translation, but not rotation. Which means you can't work with the AI on the floor plans because the floor plans are always rotated. They're free in position. Very interesting for us. And yeah, so I'm with it. So what is very important with these techniques, and I want to always talk about this. Our class is about how to do this, not how, this engineering question, but what. So I sent you around the link for these pages, for this script. There are videos here. You can go here, but first you have to get an account with, it's free with Mathematica. Then you have to push this button to start the system, and then these buttons work. The red ones is start the video. I have to push this first. Then you start a YouTube. AI. This closes the YouTube. This here, for example, goes to the image source, and you see better. So here you can say bigger. So, and these are always hyperlinks. And the black ones are always sources. So for example, then in the text there is a book. For example, with Wittgenstein, if there's a black button, you get the PDF of this at a proper position of this book. That's the black points. This is a hyperlink to some other pages, and then the red ones are on videos. So what I think is the challenge is, I think it's important that that neural networks, they will have an impact to architecture where I think BIM and parametrism are just weather lightning at the horizon. They just will change everything. They will take over, and I will tell you this story. And our studio is not to get too much involved in how these things work, because it's super simple. So it's super generic. It's always the same, but about what to do with it, how to face it, and deal with it. This is our studio about, our research about. So, and it will be, you can't underestimate these things. And the key question is, it's very important that one and the same mechanism, yeah, can drive cars, play chess, translate text, can do whatever you like. So AI is able to do whatever people like. Very important. And it's always, it's a single algorithm solving any problem if there's data. That's it. That's a chain. So therefore, AI can be green, it can be sustainable, it can be proud, it can be cool, it can be hippie, it can be hipster, it can be black, it can be white, it can be it can be anything what you like. Yeah, and they are able to do it, and that's the strange thing. And then we are with Wittgenstein, and so because they do not care. Because the moment you start to care or try to understand, you're out of the game. That's a strange paradox. And it's a paradox what we have, for example, with quantum physics, prominently with the particle and the wave and all these kind of things you might heard at school. IT is just like this and about this. So the problem, of course, is that people like not to like their neighbors, huh? And these kind of things. So therefore, it's not the paradise. Everything is done like people like it. So, and I don't like that my parents like me. Yeah. So and and therefore it's getting complicated. So and with these things, and this again, it's Wittgenstein with the investigations. If the world would be in the logic of language and about the ration of so yeah, if everybody would agree on have a common sense of what to like, then it would be paradise. The problem is
Boring, yeah?
it's getting boring and people like not to be liked. So and this is beyond reality. And with that, computers can't help you. So therefore, we are in these kind of paradox with Babylonian confusion and so on. So and therefore, the complicated question is we want to ask in our class is in our studio is what is architecture if computers can do what we think architecture is? So that's the problem. Yeah. So and there are two big branches of this technology. One is big data. So that's very interesting to see that, yeah, there are pictures, floor plans, 3D models, and so on every day, and there are plenty of them, thousands of them, 10,000 million pictures every day about architecture, principally interesting, day and every hour, every day, it doesn't matter. So it's just, you don't have time to see them all, and there's no way to see them. So, but, and you have to take that very serious. Like we say, I don't like that you like me. So then it's getting complicated because it's self-referential. So the interesting is that you're able to talk about 1 million pictures a second, no problem. You don't make a difference between talking about 1 picture, 1,000 picture, 1 million picture, 1 billion picture. So your voice is transparent to the visual. So it's just going through. So you can't see all the picture, but you can talk about it in a single sentence. So then you simply say, yeah, but why should I talk about pictures I haven't seen? Then again, we are with a question of the understanding. And yeah, computers will help you to talk about, and this is what we will experience. Computers help you to talk about pictures you've never seen in a proper way. Computers help you to talk about or get friends with books you never read in a proper way. So this is an alliance with computing, with computing and artificial intelligence and us as humans in a coexistence. So it's very important that you have your eyes, and there are limits of the eyes of reality. So the eyes are with the limits of the reality, and then you talk, and this is just through the limits of through realities you talk. This is ratio. So if you so big data memotechnic and so on. So the second thing is, so that's big data. The second is artificial intelligence. So we had the big data as cultural heritage before. The ground is artificial intelligence. Everything is moving and circulating and so on. And the interesting thing is, if you have data, so if you have all the images, all problems are solved with a single and generic algorithm without looking at reality or understanding anything. So that's the challenging thing. So it can solve every problem. Yeah. How to think about the world where you cannot address any problem because they're all solved. No? It's not about sarcasm. So it doesn't mean there's paradise. It does not mean that there are people in bad living condition. It just means that solving problems is not enough today. You need to get constitutions to guide things in a proper direction. This is what we will see what architecture is about. To give generous place and temper things, all the things in principle possible, temper them in a certain way that we agree this is a good setup. So then this is, yeah, these things. Computers are not a tool because there's no problem. That's very, very strange to get. And this is what we have to meditate about and train. It's not about understanding because things are understood. It's not about empathy because computers like everybody. This is, for example, with what we have with that Trump is now out, but in principle it's the same. You can't say that the followers of Trump are not empathic. Exactly not. You can't say that the people went to the Capitol had been not empathic. So they're just on the other side. But you can't say they're not empathic. So you can't trust empathy. And you can't say that Trump is not or was not understanding his people. He understood them better, yeah, than the Democrats understood their people. Otherwise, it would not have been F1. And it's just because of computers. And then we had Cambridge Analytica and so on. They know and they like people better because they don't try to understand what they want. This is what we are facing with politics, exactly these schemes. So it's not about signification, but a symbolization. So we have to rehabilitate the symbols. It's not about classes, ontologies, systems, structures, yeah, because we are out of logic, out of the realm of reality. Yeah, it's not about functions or algorithms because, yeah, and so on. It's not about simulations because simulations are systems. It's not about optimization because, like with the problems, optimization is not enough. We have to be better than the optimum. It's not about sensibility because sensors are more sensible than our senses. That's very important. So, for example, a video camera can look in dark night or can go with a telelens towards the surface of the Mars and whatever, or it can go in our brain. And so these sensors are amazing, these artificial ones. So it's not about any sense we have is outperformed with electronic sensors. So therefore, it's very important, essential in our senses. And it's not about then directly, not about intuition because all sensations are fake. So the interesting is if you go with the senses, it's getting super boring because you're used to the artificial sensors creating sensations you're dealing with. Therefore, you can't trust any intuition. Yeah. You can't think about new things or about, yeah, because everything is connected and there. And for example, you can't talk about diversity because things are different. They are different and have to be treated the same. So there can't be diversity. And then with human rights, for example, there can't be, should not talk about human rights because this is about diversity. You have to claim civil rights. And so look in detail what it is. It's not solid ground, reality, rational gendering, but engendering, senses, but your voices, learning, origin. No, it's not an architecture about the origin like Logier, but our world, like Palladio, the miniature of the world. So we will discuss these things, and they're very provocative, but I show you that I just will give you, you do not have to agree in the first sentence. I just want to say this is substantial. And we want to discuss these things. Yeah. So, and then if you put big data as cultural heritage, I would say artificial intelligence as urbanization, then architecture is something like this, that you go with the ground. This is a fertile ground of urban infrastructure, of the infrastructural urbanism. And this urbanism goes towards environmental, green, and so on. All this is proper, and it goes global, and this is okay that that it's working. But it's not facing anything, it just works. It should work with clean water, with schools, with medical care, with food, and transportation, internet, mobile phones, and so on. All this should work, and it working in a crazy performance and covering more and more of our planet. So, but it's just performance. There's no form. Just generic. Do anything. Do play any culture in principle and so on. And then there is the vertical, which is the cultural heritage, the big data. And architecture is the noble way to bring these two things into proportion. So on the generic urbanistic infrastructure, play and bring it to a certain cultural heritage in proportion. That's a scenographia. Towards the play of the, and this is Western thinking, towards the, but I think with Islam it's the same, with India it's the same. Towards the order of the cosmic sky. Therefore, it's a miniature of our world. This is what architecture will be. Scenographia. Good. Now, this is I show you how radical this is. So now with the aliens. So my most helpful metaphor how to deal with it. You can go to the math, you can go to quantum physics and try to understand that. You can go to philosophy, you can try to understand, and you will see that it's really impossible to understand Wittgenstein. So you can appreciate the way how he's doing, how he's talking, and so on, but there's no way to understand that. So, and therefore, my royal path to so my favorite path is the way to get to get friend with all this development is imagine you landed, think yourself as an alien, just landed on planet Earth, like here David Bowie. There's a video. So you cannot understand anything because you're alien. But, and this is the important thing, you can see, you can make difference, and you can connect things, see, difference, connect, and by that you can talk about this planet. And you never kind of touch it. So what you're doing is, and now we go. I can show it with Mathematica. Good. Here. This is how it works. Give you more. These are pictures of the world you see as your aliens. Now there are 30 pictures. So, and you simply have pictures. You don't understand anything beyond aliens, just sensory data, numbers, whatever. So these crazy metric things of numbers and so on. So, and then you simply say, it's the same thing. You have another data, and you simply say night, day, night, night, day, night. Well, crazy sounds. You simply put sounds and image sensors and say, this is the same. You don't understand anything, but you say in the same time, so these things here, the 30 of them, so there's a set of pictures and there's a set of talks, and that's the same. You simply say, these two sets are the same. It happened in the same location and in the same time. So this is algebra. To say whatever it is, that you simply say it's the same. And that's a key interest. So it's artificial intelligence is not about algorithms. So the logic of how machine works, exactly not. It's just about putting things, whatever it is, the same. And by that you can put anything in any relation. And that's what aliens, the only thing what aliens can do. Because in space and time, they coexist. Whatever it is. So now I have these connections. Then we say here, and it's always a classifier. So you simply say processing this data, blah, blah, blah. This is what the alien starts now to think. Now he's doing, bam, now we have the day and night classifier. And now you can say day and night. So here. So this is a picture, this alien of the world. This alien has never seen. So, and he says it's day. So the interesting thing is that this alien is talking about all the world, making sense to things, for example, with day and night, in all future, without understanding in it, and without never seeing the whole planet. And that's it. This is what you have to get. So therefore, you don't have to be afraid of all these Instagrams and so on. That you just take these kind of machines, you get friend with some of these aliens, and he's doing it. And that you can make all the nonsense with it it's absolutely clear. For example, now here we have cats and dogs. So this now is cat and dog. These are the same pictures from above, but I simply say instead of that of night I say cat, and of day I say dog. So now I can make another alien, and this is a crazy one. This is a reasonable one, the day and night, and the crazy one is the cat and dog. So this is a crazy alien. And now I train this cat and dog. So it's a neural network then, and now I can say, copy this cat dog of this picture. And of course he said, it's a cat. It's a cat or is it a dog?
It's a cat.
Okay, it's good. It's a cat. So he said it's a cat. So the crazy one says this is a cat. So that's it. So you can make anything. So this is what you have to do. You can't underestimate this setup. So there is only one other scheme. AI can only do classification and prediction. And the difference is, this is connections here, for example, with numbers. We don't want to elaborate that. So you see 1 goes to 1.3, 2 goes to 1.4, 3 goes to 4, and so on. So, and if these are the connections, then you can make a prediction. And there's a second kind of applications in AI. One is classification. We had it with the cats and the dogs, and the next is with prediction. So now he's doing this, and now we can predict a certain number, and then you see, is this reasonable? This is in between. And it's complicated because you see the difference here is only 1. Here the difference between 2 and it's 2. Then it's only 0.6 and so on. And then you said, no, reasonable thing is 3.2 for 2.5 here. So the only difference is that the classifiers work with discrete elements. You simply say it's a cat or it's a dog, and you have to decide. So you make discrete output. So what they do is they distinguish, and with prediction, it's continuous. So I'm very unhappy with these terms of classifier and predictors, because the classifier says there is a meaning with that. So it's not. It's just so you're distinct. So you make differences. So with the predictor, is the same. Yeah. So with the yeah. What did I hear? Yeah, okay. This is with the flow of things. The predictors go just with the flow, and then you have a continuous way of output. So with the classifiers, you work in the to discretize. So then you are in geometry, and then you are with characters and writing. And with the predictors, you are continuous, and therefore you're with numbers, and therefore you are in the continuity of things. So because of mathematics, there is nothing else. So there are only these two principal applications. Whatever people say in AI, they don't say so. They don't take this story of aliens. So now imagine, yeah, people in 1820 or in 1920 or in 2020, yeah, with their orthodox view of reality, stuck to their senses, to reality, and so on, yeah, wondering what you're doing. So as an alien, yeah? How do you know that so about these things? You, the alien, do not understand anything, because there's nothing to understand for you, the alien. Yeah, people praise you. You are everywhere, and you see them with your alien eye. You know everything, never there, but you know everything. Yeah, and you kind of understand people, how they behave, and so on. Yeah, and you show up with your alien screen thing. So I would always say, these are kind of screen. We will have done more and more examples. Yeah, and you take all space. You're everywhere, omnipresent. You mediate space, and this is what AI is about. The technical media of space. Technical is space is full of it. It's the imaginary of light. So it's now, for example, we will have more of it. Here, if you, for example, get 500,000 images, that's important to see. Yeah, here, that's, for example, an age classifier. So there are a lot of with all the researchers, and so on, there are a lot of competition, who is doing best and so on. And they're all available, like pre-modeled buildings. For example, the Wittgenstein house is a model. We have a 3D model of the Wittgenstein house, of course. And therefore, for example, this is an alien is able to look at people and estimate their age. Stop it. So if you go here with Prince Charles and Diana, and this alien looks at it, he says, Charles is 44. He's not facing this. 44. And if you do it with Charles here, then alien says he's 76. so, and this machine is able to do better than me. So this alien, it's very important. So it just worked because some stupid people, what doesn't mean stupid. So this was done at ETH in 2017. So, and these crazy people, they had computer science, they got papers for that, they got diplomas for that, and so on. They made 500,000 pictures, and then they made research. When was it? What was the age of Prince Charles? And they did it 500,000 times. So and but this alien is able to outperform any human now. So it's a kind of worth it to do it like this, yeah. So this is how it works. And this machine doesn't understand anything, even doesn't know that they're persons or anything. It simply say it's equal. You have a range of 100 numbers, 1 to 100, and then you have a range of pictures, and yet you say equality. It's equal. Bam. That's enough. So, 76. So, and of course, it's the same like here, for example, with translation of text. You say hello there, and then you translate it Arabic, Bulgarian, Chinese, and so on, you get this. And it works. And it doesn't work by understanding any language and so on. It just has 1 million books in Arabic, 1 million books in Bulgarian, 1 million books in Chinese, and simply say it's the same, done. They don't understand anything. Very important to get these aliens. So, and then, for example, yeah, we wonder what is an image of a text. Here it is. So this is, for example, hello there, and this is the image of this text. So HELLO blank THERE. Yeah? So hello there. That's the image of text. Or if you talk about it here, let's see. Spoken text. Here, this is the text. Sound is this. Here we see hello there. Yeah, hello there. Hello there. Yeah, this is the sound. And here now we say the sound, and this is the spectrogram of the sound. So, and then simply say, for example, text to speech, speech to text. Then you simply say, this equals hello there. Yeah. This equals that. Do it with a billion sentences, then you have it. Speech to text. Okay. Just want to. So then it's a question of power, yeah. So it's very important to get this. This is what they're doing, yeah. This is a story of what Amazon and so on. They just can talk with anybody paradoxically, yeah, because they do not understand the world. And the people of gravity, they feel understood, yeah. Gravity. That's a good one. They really feel understood. Curiously enough, yeah. So this is what aliens do. They please you. They make you feel comfortable. They make you feel understood. They excite you. They make you angry. They calm you down. Yeah, but they're just sitting at, this is my metaphor, they're just sitting at the edge of the world, watching the light of images, and they're able to make differences. That's him. So, yeah, so and then this motivation of our studio, yeah, they learn to talk. You have to learn, these smart ones, yeah, Page, Bison, Musk, Kardashian, they learn to talk like the aliens. Yeah, and they just take over. Yeah, and we, the others, gravitational people, we, we cannot complain, yeah, in our uncomprehended comfort. If you're smart, you cannot ignore that. Yeah, you have to affirm the existence. You have to learn to leave your body of gravity. Get connected to learn to talk with alienated voice. So, so everything is connected. So, how to abduct from gravity? So look at this picture, for example, here. So there's this is an urban infrastructure, the global urban infrastructure, that is B. So that's a network. And the key problem of this network, or the thing of this network, is that you put in somewhere in A, and it pops up in B. So it simply doesn't matter where it goes, went. Of course, you can say, yeah, but it's interesting where there was a traffic jam. And who cares? It's important that it's there within 24 hours at B and pops up wherever it comes from. So, and it's not important how it worked, because you can't, it's of no use, because traffic jam tomorrow is at a different place. So you can't learn from it. So and therefore, for example, these these navigation system, this GPS for cars. But it's an old story, because now they are all alien. So in the beginning, it was very clear. So you had a map of the world or of your region, and then you had your starting point and you had a destination point, and then you had a graph of all the roads, and then it was clear an optimal way, which is the shortest, or the shortest in kilometers, or the shortest hours. So there's a clear algorithm to do that, and that's the optimum. In real life, yeah, you always there's no map of real life. So this again is a limit of the Tractatus of Wittgenstein. So you have to make a picture of it, which means you combine your GPS with GSM, which means you get a picture of the situation of traffic. You know where, which speed, what is blocked, where are extra roads, and so on, because each car is kind of connected with all the other cars. So you picture the whole situation, and then you don't navigate on the map, you navigate within the traffic of the others. So this is where you travel. And the interesting thing, and this is for me the most explicit way how to show these paradoxes we are working on. The GSM GPS, so traveling with the travels of the others, is always faster or equal like the optimum. The optimum is always slower than G. So if you only GPS and map, so if you are in reality, you're always, if you're in the realm of optimization, you have the optimum, and you're always slower than the aliens navigating with themselves. because you can't take into account what the others are doing. Because the map is always after. You can't predict it. It's out of the realm of reality. So therefore, I think it's very important to see that quite indifferent, for example, with Bruno Latour and all these, that you simply say, yeah, but there are antennas and there are glass fibers and blah, 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 and there are roads. And of course, there's traffic jam. And this is horrible that there's a traffic jam and these and that. And so, yeah, of course. But it doesn't say anything about, so it said what, so it's big data. So it's that, it's always done. For today, it doesn't help because it's another day. It simply has no, it makes no sense to talk about today. And you see it now. Go here, for example, the logistics here of your package. Now make a package to Lagos. it's here, but I don't know. Maybe it's here, yeah, and maybe it's here. And then it simply doesn't matter where it is. It's just important that it pops up in Lagos tomorrow. And this is only because of the address. So the address is rational, and it has nothing to do with any reality. So therefore, I can call the single number. I can call you on the other side of the table. I take another number. I call somewhere in China, and so it's simply an address, and I don't care how it works and where it goes and so on. And this is what the alien's doing. This is what it's meaning. Everything is connected. That you're abducted from gravity, and everybody likes it. That it's like that. So it's not that you say, this is happening to me and I don't. Everybody likes to call and have video calls, and everybody likes to have selfies. Yeah. So what I think now is, if it is like that, that these things pop up, this is how they show. So it's a little more in strong contrast that you always try to find reasons of where it is going and so on. It's more like if you have an old analog TV set, you have white noise, and then you switch the program. Boom. and then you tune your antenna, and then out of white noise, something pops up. So, and this is how the aliens show. This is the B. There's no reason but the address. From all the world, wherever it is, which here is the white noise. Therefore, I think they are sitting at the edge of the world. They're disputing, they're laughing, and so on, but they make differences, and then they show up, and they show up with these in these screen things. So, and here, for example, Kardashian in the Walk magazine, watching herself in a block. It's incredible. And these are these aliens. So these are aliens showing up on screen things. So on their fragrance and her her fashion and her for whatever what she's selling, these are all screen things. So Kardashian showing everywhere with everything, giving colors and temper to whatever it is on this planet. She's omnipresent. She's making things Kardashian. Everywhere. So, this is how it works. So, and then if you have this picture, and if you look around, and then you see it's not so, the more pictures you see, it's not so much to show. There are very few characters you can show, or very few manners how to make, or for example, if you want to make an Instagram, want to make a prominent photo, you have to follow the schemes of a certain, if you want to sell architecture to a kind of sustainable agitation crowd and want to have an urban design for that, you have to follow their schemes. It's nothing. You have to make their pictures so that they are followers of certain alien setups which show up everything. They drink a certain kind of coffee, they buy certain things, they have certain fashion, they have all these kind of things. And if you don't meet that, you can talk with them. So it's like this. So therefore, these are the principal manners of these screens. So for example, this is the beauty of untouched nature. This is here the riot there and the Capitol. It's not like this. It's an alien showing up. So we are mediated by these things. And there are only very few principal schemes how this is done. Or for example, if you follow this slide, the way how this, for example, this Capitol thing over these weeks now, it is there in media, it's getting tuned. Huh? The contrast gets much sharper. At the beginning, I was watching it for 1 hour live, and I'd say, what are they doing? It was like a tourist, a kind of a little riot, but yeah, but they all took selfies, and it was what like a tourist guidance, an uncontrolled tourist thing, sightseeing tour. So, and now it turned the face over the weeks to a very brutal riot thing. So this is, I think, something like here, getting the antenna proper. So the aliens coming out, getting more contrast to it. Good. Yeah, and these are the aliens. So we are, so they landed in, yeah, let us make a let's turn. Imagine aliens landing in 1820. They bring their smartphones, their Google eyes, and so of everything. They're back in the 18th, they can do whatever they want. Fantastic thing, brutal thing, crazy thing, great things, yeah? So if you land with our actual setup in 1820, 200 years before, you can play alien. So and I would say we are not much too different as to 1820 today. It's just there, and we simply say we are simply gravitational bodies. So, and if you go with these schemes here and the products, I would say I always take this list because these are the most famous inventions of the 20th century. So this is what happened when they landed in 1880 and then they took over. And these are the crazy things which kind of destabilized our whole global societies and cultures. TV set, automobile, nuclear energy, airplane, bubblegum, antibiotics, fertilizer, bikini, photovoltaics, electronic, and so on. It's just a list of the most famous inventions of 20th century. And they play like this. And drive us gravitational people crazy. We don't know what to do with it. And that's a lack of architecture. That's important. Yeah. So do not think about these things as things. Think of them as aliens. Landed, getting a proper face. So now, if we have this, an old story as well. So they landed around 1880. They hit the Earth 1818. The first wave was relativity theory, quantum physics, nuclear bomb, organic chemistry, synthetic nature, ammonia 1908, photovoltaic bypassing the natural photosynthesis to get direct access to the radiation of the sun, Einstein 05, Millikan 12. So you see, synthetic nature here, photovoltaic to get new energy sources from extraterrestrial. Same philosophy, the crisis of intuition. Then in art, expressionism, cubism, futurism, Dada, architecture, Bauhaus, international style. In mathematics, Galois, it's a little earlier, Riemann, Dedekind, Noether, and explicitly not Frege and Whitehead and Russell. Whitehead is a kind of okay, but Russell and Frege, all the references of computer science today, it's definitely not that, because they play rational. They play in the realm of the Wittgenstein Tractatus and not are not with the investigations. I try to push you in. And with AI, it's the same. It's Markov, a Russian mathematician, 1913. All I talk to you about this alienation is Markov, 1913. So it's not recent development. This phenomena, what I showed you with this, with the classification and prediction, Markov 1303 in mathematics. So after this first shock, what happened? We had the Russian Revolution, we had the Great Repression, World Wars, Holocaust, European world crashed. It's not friendly and harmless. So it's not fun at all. It's a big challenge. They really take over and they are not nice. So, and this is how we started in the postdoc. So here are references, the Macy conferences. There's a movie, Dunback, The Net, talking about this. These are strategies, how we tamed with the aliens, de facto in the 20th century, in the second half post-war. Information technology was economized. So especially with, this was US politics, post-war US politics, to stabilize the economic and technological development of their West Coast against Asia, because they had the war experience with Japan. The British, they had been advanced in that time with information technology. They wanted to have it secret and military. So, but America, the US economized that. Then the drugs, another alien technology. The drugs, they had been criminalized. This was not the case in the 60s. That was about experiment, about social control, about yeah. So Woodstock and so on was just in times where drugs had been an experiment to control and to foster, to increase intellect, sensibility, to control social developments and so on, just because people got afraid with the wars. Because people get, obviously people start to get crazy and started crazy things like the Germans with the World War and the Holocaust and so on. To start to control that, it was a big issue. It was not clear how to do that. And they tried everything, and drugs over time got criminalized. But it took time. And the same with the nuclear energy. This is militarized. The story of that you find with these references. Yeah. So, and there had been three waves how it developed in how IT was economized. So the first, it's called the golden years. You can find it everywhere like this. So the aliens, they looked up, the technique looked like this, the interfaces looked like this. These are the figures. You can go with Sartre or Mastroianni, and you can go here with this kind of architecture, all the same time, mid-50s to mid-70s. And these alien work, they took over the flow of control, so they took over networks, but they needed, for this equality thing, they needed form and structures specific. This is the technology needed. And this had certain limits. It came with around 100,000 mainframes and it looked like that. Form and structure specific. Then there was a winter, and then from in the 80s, this had been the personal computers. There had been tens of millions of personal computers. And the interesting thing there is, and we experienced that in postmodernity or structuralism, post-structuralism and so on, is that the aliens learned to forget about forms. So the only thing to take over, so they took over forms. So they took over flow of control, all the networks, and now they took over forms, any form. And the only thing what they needed was structure. So you need a specific structure, and then they could play any form. This was with the PC, second phase of AI. You can, in principle, go, so that's what the Windows systems, these kind of computers, not any, that's interesting, huh? Interesting turn, how they change their face. And the same here. Form and structure specific, and here form is out. And here in architecture, very direct. We call that parametrism. So form is free and structure is specific. So this is very direct. Yeah. Interesting is that we call that parametrism some 20 years later. It's always a little stupid. And BIM, for example, is always here. So BIM is even more stupid. So it's 50 years later. And you see, BIM always works with these schemes. You directly can take that. If there's a formula like this is this is with BIM or with the first wave of the aliens. And the third wave is since 2000, and that's it, because now they took over structures as well. And this is what the internet is doing, and the artificial intelligence of today and the XML standards. So they also took over structure. So now they have the networks, form, and the structures, and there's nothing more. And it looks like this. So then we discuss environmental. We have these kind of athletic programming, like comics, dramatizing each step of action. So this is a programming environment. You see, it's not a comic. This is how it looks like. You get engaged in everything. These are the screen bodies of these the schematic screen bodies of the aliens, and I think this is adequate architecture for that. If you want to find an example, something like that. So these are the three waves, and I think there is no more. It's a saturation because there's not, you can't take over more than form and structure. So that's it, which is okay, kind of. So, and it's very fast. So if I look at the movies here, and you will always do it, and look how people expressed things. If you go, for example, with Mood for Love, this is in 2000, and they really hang around, they talk in clubs and in bars and the street and so on, and in cars and so on, and they don't have no cell phone. They just talk if they want to talk remote. So they're very always near, and then there's light in between in different colors, and they have different clothes and so on. So they show extremely different. But if they talk, they need a line. So the whole story. So the whole story will collapse if there would be not this tense connection between figures as we have today. And it's only 20 years ago. This is when I started here at ETH teaching computing for architects. There was no mobile phone. And there was no Google. Wikipedia just started. And we had been the first at the whole university making a wiki. So this kind of strange thing. Good. Okay, it's not too long anymore. We go towards the end. I promised you 1.5 hours. So if the world is alienated, this is the hypothesis of our studio, of our research and so on. The world is alienated. So, and if you want to talk with these, like these aliens, so you have to lose your gravitational body and you have to talk about with the aliens. And in our, at least Western tradition, there are 3 different modes of talking in an alienated world. And there's nothing else. So Vera and especially Helen, they know more details, and I'm always struggling with them because they think it's, I think it's 3. So, and it's good that it's 3. So, so there's a satire. So we have from Salio, the 7 books of architecture. He's describing it like this. And I would say this is ichnographia. And this is satire. And we can talk in a satiric way about architecture, and we're doing this with here, for example, Godzilla, Blade Runner, Terminator, Edge of Tomorrow. So here, Blade Runner. This is satiric. So these are the machines outperforming humans. This is what urban infrastructure is doing. They're just better, faster, smarter, and so on. So and we perceive them in these movies, in a lot of different colors and pictures and so on. So we don't have to invent that. They are there, and they are there in hundreds or thousands of new movies. This attitude towards the aliens. So there's, yeah, because alien movies is alien technology. There's no not alien movie. They just talk about these things. And these are here, for example, Terminator or Blade Runner is a movie about aliens and how to talk with them and how to perceive them. So, and I think this satiric dramatization in food is here all the fast food. You have the McDonald's Prosperity Burger, for example. So, beef or chicken Prosperity Burger. Huh? Golden. Yeah, golden. I like it. So that's ichnographia or satire. So the performance of, and I would say, if we have these green cities and so on, it's just these discussions. It's here, you see it, okay? It's a kind of okay, but this is the performance of infrastructure. And infrastructure as a generic thing takes over and simply boosts all the stuff around, gets environmental and simply takes over. So there's no escape. It's this. So in architecture is this here. I really hate this building. It is just like the Prosperity Burger of this crazy dictator of of Azerbaijan in Baku. It's so ugly. It's so alien. It's so offending any any real people. So there's no entrance. You need to walk for 5 minutes in a really hot sun. There's nothing. So and everything is reflecting in heat, and you don't know where to go. And then you are there. Yeah, and all this is only in the praise of the president because he was born in the tower, and then he comes down like Zarathustra to all the beauty he made on this planet. Yeah, so this is ugly. And then at the ground, so the beauty of what he brought was his imperial, so his limousine, presidential limousine, a German car. This is what he brought to the Azerbaijan people when he came down from Azerbaijan, from the Zarathustra mountain. then all these picture, how he grew up, where he was at school, how he got enlightened, to be brave, to be and you have to go there, and it's really huge, yeah, and it's super hot, and you don't know where. Imagine where's the entrance, huh? It's not here or here or here. It's around the corner. In then you wait here. You can see people, and then they always have to come in classes, and then so because it's important to know the dictator. It's here, and you simply can't really find it. There's no signature, no nothing, and it's hot, and there's no drinks and no nothing, and no tree. Just a French exhibition. I don't know whether they have it permanently, of of meter size, like with what is this balloon, this metallic balloon dog, Jeff Koons. Jeff Koons, yeah, and like Jeff Koons, but a little more fragile, but the same material, and big candies, wrapped candies, and they were vertical, and these candies were vertical, and there had been all the flags of the planetary nations. So there was a German and the French and the Korean candy. No, you had been there or not? You had been, it was something like that. Huh? I forgot it. Oh, yeah, all the nations of the so getting friend with this dictator had been wrapping a national flag, wracking in Jeff Koons like styles of candies, and they stood around in this walkway in bright hot sunlight, hot sun, yeah, towards the praise of the president. So I hate that, but it's prosperity. So it's pure satire. And whole parametrism is like that. I simply say parametrism is this shit. I hate it. So the second way how to talk about the aliens, not getting a kind of secret or hidden alliance with the alien, or to play the alien itself, yeah, is the tragedy that you understand all this is a mess, and you're in grief about the lost world of gravity. That's a tragedy. So it's just the other way around. So it's a vertical. And this is cultural heritage, not urbanization. So and then we have, for example, her and translucent. So you simply surrender, and you know that here, memory of all times, all sophistication but dead, and you know, yeah, you know that you know. But all the power is gone, because the aliens are dead 100 years ago. Something like that. That's our cultural heritage. So this is Ducasse in cuisine. So I like it. I very sympathize with this attitude, but it doesn't help. So, and I think in architecture, if you find it's very complicated to find examples. So I'm quite convinced with this shit, but with the red, so it's just to make it somehow. So, for example, now this chapel here with Sumptor, it's something like that. So you celebrate the materiality of things, the origin of things on the earth. So then you try to do that and make a stand, and you see this is the principle orthogonal. You know everything, but you know it's out. You're out. So this is tragedy. You try to keep big data cultural heritage alive. So and then with Salio, it's a comedy which established architecture. This is scenography. In my reading, and architecture brings these two things into proportion, into a reasonable, so makes cultural heritage alive in a new scale. So alive with surrendering of towards the, so playing with the so make this working on this alienated work. So this is, I think, is a comedy. So a little forget about what comedy is. It's a kind of cliches and so on. this is the name for it. And I always use these old terms, and they, in the way or I tell them, they turn a little the meaning. But it's very important that comedy is not like a silly joke. So the best example for in movies now I found currently, so here Monty Python and the Minister of Silly Walks. You know that? You all know that, or do you want to see this? I think it makes fun to see it. Good, something like that. Yeah. So imagine this is a time of the first wave. So this is Mastroianni. So, but it's another temper with it, and so we have to, and we have to get. I think it's very important that you really think yourself at the end of the edge of the world, and it has to be, you have to laugh a little about what's going on there in all this ichnographia and autographia and so on, and all these serious space taking and all these space keeping, and so you have to make it fluent, you have to make it smart, and you have to play with it. So I'm a little complicated with how to find proper examples, because I don't want to fix you too much to a certain direction. Therefore, I took Monty Python and not more recent. So just to give you an idea, this is about us to find something, but I think it has to be comedy. It's necessary. And this with Salio, by the way. So it's not my a vector of argument. So, and then in molecular biology, I'm quite happy for years now with the molecular biology in kitchen. So this is kind of sophisticated playing around with with the nature of things and making something which never had been there. And it's coming because you can do it. And it's more sophisticated and very interesting, and it's a little kind of humoresque playing around. For example, this is of course not an egg. Yeah? So these kind of things. And then if it's architecture, maybe here the interlace here in Singapore, Colas, I'm not sure. By far, just to have something there and so on. It's up to you to develop. This is our research, yeah, that we have to get clearer how this might work and how to read. I don't believe that that what we have to look for is a kind of revolution and so on. I simply think we have to learn to sit at the edge of the work and make differences. So and there's no new thing. Everything is there. It's just we have to look at it with alien eyes, and we have to learn to get this view. You have to learn to adjust these antennas so that these things show up. So this is what I would say. So then, last chapter, but this I want go in short. And I think you can read it. You should get an account if you don't have it, and then take this link to read this stuff. So forget about problems, yeah? Yeah, do not target things, embrace them. Do not point at problems and solve them. Things are inconceivable by principle. So you have to, so this is, if you're alien, you can't grasp it. You can't point at it and so on. You always take pictures, and then you have the other things, and then you always can make it equal. You're out of this world. So, and therefore you can't address a problem, and you can't say this is a problem, and there's this is what I do, and this is what I want to solve. So therefore, you somehow have to go around this thing and make pictures and talks and record everything and so on. And by that, I would say with Elias Zafiris is our mathematician colleague. We are a triple of professors. This is Vera, this is Elias, the mathematician, and me. And he says it's about obstacles and it's about embracing. So we have to talk and to think about whatever is of interest as inconceivable, because all these things are connected with the world in their characteristic way. So if you stick at them and point at them, they're dead. They lose their connectivity. So it's a super brutal, imperialistic access to things. So like you see with the limits of the Tractatus of Wittgenstein, this is the limits of problem solving, this is the limits of reality, and you can't go beyond reality by embracing the things inconceivable. Yeah. So therefore, AI is not a tool. Problems, or this will be tyrannic and so on. So don't think in systems, but mechanics. So then, you know, I think language. Vera will be the investigations and so on. Go the social, for example. Yeah. This, for example, is very interesting. So this is we will work a lot with these n-grams of Google. So this is the frequency of the use of the word social and the word of cybernetics. In all the books Google scanned, and these are hundreds of millions of books by year. So and then you've asked what is a social or cybernetics in English from 17 to 2018 normalized. So and then you see the social is a phenomena, especially of the 20th century. It was developed in the 19th century. Before that, it was simply not there. It was developed in the 19th century and got a boost in the 20th century. So this is what we are looking for with the aliens. And you see an interesting peak directly with cybernetic. So this is simply what we really don't like. Me as well. So I don't like this idea that the social might be an alien. And we believe in these crazy aliens. So it's very, very important. So, and here, for example, the social and the capital. If you want to describe in the 19th century, then it's about capital. And it's not about the social. So if you then go on, then you see that capitalism and socialism is in sync. So therefore, it's just an 20th century heroism on the 19th century if you talk about capitalism. So this is what the aliens take to kick you out of your heritage. So if you follow this line, it's directly like this. So the aliens face up as social, and they make you use this conception of the capitalism to cut your cultural ground. So this is directly with all the books. Yeah. So there's, I think, no way out. So you already have. I never read these books. There are 10,000 of books around these topics. I never read them, but I think if I make this hypothesis, it would be very complicated to make a counter argument. So to save our convenience within the realm the aliens built for us. This comfy net of the aliens prepared to get a cut off our roots. So something like that, yeah. So and you can go I made a lot with the argument. It's too much for today. It's a lot of meditation. It's very sketchy. I'm not sure with most of it, but somehow I am. So that's for today. Thank you. Hope you had fun. What you're thinking. I need some feedback. Can you take over?
Hi. I guess my question would be: is the point to find an alien or to try and become an alien?
No, this is the beauty of. No. So, no, this is the beauty of Monty Python. What I think is, you have to learn to talk about the world like them, but you should not forget being a human.
Right. Right.
And that's the beauty of comedy, that you're able to. With comedy, you are able to do that. So with tragedy, you simply say, "I'm a human, and I'm so sad that I lost against the aliens." With satire, I say, "I can play alien." So with comedy, you simply say, "I know you, and I can play like you, but I'm human."
Right. Okay.
So, and that's comedy. This is what we are looking for.
Okay.
Some more remarks. Don't be shy. You can make a question or comment by chat if you're shy. Or if you think it's more adequate. Is there one more message? No. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, thank you very much for this. Now, but this is Salio. You should praise Salio. I have to take these old guys serious. Yeah. This is his story, not mine. None.
I'm not sure if I know exactly what I want to say. It's very interesting to hear your conception of this history, I guess, but it feels a bit fatalistic as well. At some point, you introduce the category of alien, and everything that happens is sort of attributable to them and out of the hands of us, who can sort of observe from the edge and participate in some ways. But yeah.
Yeah, but this is one of these points. You have to forget about history. What we know with history, you have to forget about it. Like reason, reality, and so on. If you are alien, you have to play differently. So it's right that the way what we know as history or historicity, in principle, it's a historicity what we learn at school about history. So it's a sequence of events in time. So which we think it's a logical one. So this is simply not relevant in a Renaissance. So it is not like that in antique Greek and Roman setup. It's not really relevant like that in Renaissance and Baroque. That's more dominant that, for example, I can read a book with Plato, and this is simply bypassing historicity. So Plato can have direct impact to me 2,500 years later. So this is simply not, you can't cover it with our understanding of what history is about. It always thinks that Plato was his time, and then there had been Aristotle, and there are these and these and these and these. And you always have to perceive the last year to make a new one. So you have to go 3,500 years back to come to Plato. But this is simply not the case in a Renaissance setup. In a Renaissance setup, like we have with big data today, with all the memory of a cultural heritage, it's simply available at the fingertip. Or it had been available at the fingertip with the printing press in the Renaissance, or with the phonetic writing with the antique Greek. But all the knowledge, heritage had been available at the fingerprint, and by that, you cut yourself from historicity. So that's a frightening thing, of course. I don't think it's fatalistic and so on, but this is the challenge that, and I think it's most real. I simply read all this stuff, and I can get it wherever I like, and it's simply no sequence in time, no cause and effect anymore, in the way we talked as gravitational bodies. And gravitational always means you have time is always passing by, and our destiny is to follow the flow of time. That's the gravitation. Time is in gravity. And what we are thinking of in a Renaissance is always in light. Open light as a planetary thing where you can make any kind of constellation, whatever is it. And that's a primacy of the mode of thinking in a Renaissance. And I strongly foster this idea that we are in a Renaissance for 120 years now. Yeah, that's the crucial point. So you really have to start to go with to rethink what. So we make histories in a plural, which is essays, which are essays or what is it, odysseys and or whatever. So these are dramas. So these are histories. So we make our things. This is what we currently face with all the fakes and so on. We make our things, and we have to make it reasonable. But there's not a single logical one anymore. There's no truth in it anymore. This we have to learn. Yeah, good question.
I maybe have a question to that. So by that, do you mean that there is kind of like a multitude within history, like the historic part, that we don't have the like a timeline for history anymore and things happening maybe side by side? So is that kind of like a Darwinistic, like the survival of the best story or something like that to be seen?
No, but the multitude is correct. So there are a lot. I would say these are constellations, certain constellations. You're correct that if there's a certain timeline, we somehow lost it. If we are talking about the architectural development the last 120 years, it's so diverse, so it simply can't map it anymore. So that's correct. So there's a multitude of things, but I would not say it's a style anymore because of that. I would disagree with this this idea of that Darwin is with the survival of the fittest is something to do with what you're doing and what we are thinking, because the survival of the fittest is gravitational. So and this is an idea of how to talk historicity, to make reason of things. So it's a kind of mechanics, how to make reason at the thinking. So it's exactly our this gravitational thinking to a very extreme. It's an engineering on biology or something. So always, if you try to find an origin, you are in gravitation. So this is what in the space of light, because light is not of gravity. So I have no mass, it's not massive. And with that, you always have constellation. So what I would say is there are these principal bodies of how they show up. They go like we had with these, I had with the Kardashians and the bubble gums. So all these faces the aliens can get. So there's this great amount of faces they have. They show up everywhere, and then we can bring them like planetary things in certain constellations, and they repeat. So, and you easily can describe the 20th century, I think, in forms of these constellations and of rotation. And you have massive problems if you want to roll it out on a linear plane, the 20th century. So easily show if they are, if you just turn certain characters showing up in certain buildings and so on. So yeah, they got, so the persons are just faces of the actors, and the building are just faces of certain aliens. So our reality is mediated by these things.
Do you think we would be able to do that someday, but in order to get there, we need to go into this abstraction and talk about it like people had mysticism to talk about things they did not understand yet in order to act upon it or use it in a way. But then now looking back, we are able to describe these things definitely that then were already accessed by using mysticism. So yeah, is it gonna be something completely different, or yeah, will it eventually be able to be rationalized?
Yeah, what I think it's the first thing is always very, very complicated. So it's like learning to play piano, you learn swimming, or learning a foreign, really foreign language like Chinese, just learning that. So it takes a lot of effort. So it's very important that if you are able to do that, you are alienated. So it's like that. So before Renaissance, very few people could read and write. At the moment you get literate, Renaissance itself was a kind of it was an alienation the same way as we experience today. So and then over time you learn that, and now we are all able to talk this Renaissance alien language, and it's natural to us. And of course we have the capacity to do these things. But the first time it's complicated to learn. So very few are able or willing or getting the energy to do that. So I would answer like this. The key problem is that you don't trust that this has something to do with you. so if so this is what I'm always complaining about, all these crazy things about quantum physics and these paradoxes. I told you a few of them. If you do that in kindergarten, no problem, they would enjoy it. And you directly have another mindset. It's not an intellectual problem. It's just whether you trust to learn it. There's enough trust to make the effort for 2, 3, 4, 5 years to learn it. So if there is a certain saturation in a society, then I think it works by itself. And this always takes hundreds of years. Therefore, at the beginning, it's complicated to do. But now I think, especially with this, now it's 140 years around, and now with this availability of the techniques, the computers, I think there's no way out anymore. So we can't ignore it anymore. All what we know simply doesn't work anymore. All the schemes, how we act, how we argue, how politics works, and all this is not working. It's simply not adequate anymore. So, and therefore, I think, no, it's, yeah, you have to decide. But it's complicated first time. And the key problem is whether you have an environment which somehow trusts in this kind of cultural level of abstraction. That I would say is a key problem. And if it's there, then I think in 200 years, 300 years, they will learn it. It's in primary school. Very simple. It will be everywhere. And therefore, I think with us, it's very important. If there's nothing new, then we need this this access towards our cultural heritage. We need that. And then if there are these constellations repeating and so on, then you see that people in Renaissance with the printing press has the same problem and the same challenges like we today with these computer networks. That things kind of secret before with scientists, with huge libraries and so on, they simply got available everywhere, and there's no control of it. Everybody's able to do that. And then you can learn how this is, how our heritage is towards these challenges. Because it's not the first time that aliens landed. So in our culture, it's with the ancient Greeks around 800 BC, they landed. then in the 15th century, they landed with Renaissance, and I think they landed in around 1900. So this is our way how to think about this. I think the Western way. In China, it's different, but they have these phases as well. But I would not think that the alien story will work there. But they have phases of abstraction and integration and so on. Good. Okay, let us have a break, an hour, and then meet at 1 with a talk of Vera. Is that okay, Vera?
It's 1 now, so we meet at 2.
Ah, 2, sorry, yes. Yeah.
Yep. Great. Mm-hmm.
Good. Bona.